Stockdale Parker Cemetery at the Skullbusters property near Stamping Ground. Today I'm going to show you how to properly clean a headstone. There's a proper way and an improper way. If you do it improperly, you can actually damage the stone, so we don't want to do that. Here's a stone that I cleaned maybe a couple weeks ago, and here's a stone that has not been cleaned. So you can see the difference. So I'm going to show you how to clean a headstone so it looks like this. To properly clean a headstone, you need some equipment. And here I have before you all the equipment that I use to properly clean a headstone. First of all, you have to use a lot of water because one of the things you don't want to do is harm the headstone when you clean the headstone. Do no harm. That should be constantly in your head. Do no harm. And even though these stones are very durable and heavy, they can be damaged by certain chemicals that you might think would be okay. So one of the things you have to have is plenty of water. I've got jugs full of water here, and I've got a sprayer here with 2 gallons of water. You can also use some soap, but you have to have a special type of soap to clean these headstones. The soap has to be pH neutral. It cannot be acidic and it cannot be alkaline. And there are some places where you can get this pH neutral soap. If you want to know the brand that I use, just call me at the library and I'll let you know. There's something else that you can use on the headstones. You'll notice that the headstone over here, the one that I'll be showing you how to clean, has some green stuff on it. It looks like algae or moss or something like that. There is a spray, a biocide, that's very good at keeping that off the headstone, and it's safe for the headstone. The National Park Service has been using it for decades. They use it at Arlington Cemetery. So one thing I want to warn you about, I've said cause no harm. Do not use bleach and do not use ammonia on these headstones because bleach and ammonia will damage the headstones. You might not see the damage right away, but it will definitely damage the headstone. So water, pH neutral soap, and a biocide that's designed for headstones. You'll see also I have brushes here. We'll need that to clean this headstone. These are natural brushes. Well, one's a natural brush and one's nylon. You never want to use metal, anything metal on a headstone. So a natural brush or soft nylon. For those tight spaces, I've got this, it looks like a toothbrush. That is a natural or nylon bristle. To do some heavy-duty scraping, I've got these scrapers here. These you can get at paint stores and things like that. But to get the stuff off the headstones, you want to either use plastic like this or maybe some wood, maybe those wooden stirrers that you get at paint stores. But never use metal on a headstone. It'll scratch and damage the headstone. And of course, work gloves. So let's get to it. First thing you want to do to properly clean a headstone is just use your brush, whether it's natural, bristle, or nylon. So it always has to be soft. And just lightly brush the headstone like this. Get any dirt or debris off. Next thing you want to do, as I mentioned before, you want to use a lot of water on the headstone. So the first thing you want to do after you brush it, get your sprayer out and just spray it down. You'll be using a lot of water when you're cleaning a headstone. Make sure you bring a lot. I've got, this is 2 gallons, and I brought 2 gallons of water over there. Now we're out in the woods, so we don't have a spigot or anything like that, so you have to bring your own water. If you're at a city cemetery, a lot of times they have water there for you. But in this case, this is what I have to do. Now I've thoroughly wetted this headstone. Next thing I'm going to do, use the plastic spatula and then try to get this stuff off. Yeah, see, it's coming right off. Again, never use metal. Use plastic or wood to get this stuff off. See, it's coming right off. By the way, this is Hezekiah Offutt's headstone. He died in 1856. This is the oldest headstone here at Stockdale Parker Cemetery at Skullbusters. He died, like I said, in 1856. He was in the Kentucky Infantry. He married Elizabeth and he died first in 1856. After he died, she married Mr. Stockdale. Mr. Stockdale is buried over there, and Elizabeth is buried next to him. Her headstone is in shambles right now. Someday we'll get that fixed. This appears to be granite. You know, some headstones are marble, but believe it or not, as hard as marble is, it can deteriorate because of acid rain and stuff like that. Granite's a much better material, it's more durable. Okay, I think I got, there's some lichen here on the back. Get that off. Again, never use metal on headstones, wood or plastic. Okay, enough of that. Now, again, more water. Just spray it down a little bit. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a brush and that neutral soap solution. I've got it here in a spray bottle. I mixed it up at home. And what you want to do, you want to work from bottom to top. That's to prevent streaking, or at least minimize streaking. It's starting to come off. Alright, you'll notice that some of these stains are pretty tough. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use more of the soap I was telling you about, the pH neutral soap. I'm going to put it directly on the brush and we'll see what works here. Let's rinse it. It's not going to be perfect, but we do the best we can, causing no harm. Time to pull out the toothbrush. Well, it's a little bit better, but that's probably the best we can do without damaging the headstone. You always want to be gentle with the stone. One last thing, I mentioned to you the biocide that I use on this. This will kill any remaining living organisms on the headstone and also prevent any more growth, at least for quite a while. So let me get the biocide for you. And if you want to know what kind of biocide I'm using, just call me at the library and I'll let you know. It's the one that's used, like I said, by the National Park Service. And you just lightly spray it while the headstone is still wet. And that's it. We'll come back a little bit later and see what it looks like after it's dried. Hello again. We're still here at Stockdale Parker Cemetery at the Skullbusters property near Stamping Ground. We just got through cleaning the headstone, and now I want to show you something else. This is a bonus feature. This is one of the headstones, another headstone here at this cemetery. It's the Parker headstone. And you'll notice it's a husband-wife headstone. You have Mary over here. It has her birth date and it has her death date. However, her husband, Menelaus, doesn't have the birth date or the death date. It's unknown. So when I see something like that, I'm a little bit saddened, and you would think that they would at least have the death date. I can understand why they might not have the birth date, because back then the birth dates weren't that important, or they didn't keep good records, but the death date you would think they'd be a little bit better than that. So anyway, I started doing some research. I wanted to find the birth date and the death date, and sure enough, I did find them. Now, how did I find the birth date? I went through the Scott County Library website, and we have access to Ancestry.com. I plugged in his name, and I found a federal census, and from that I found out his birth date, which is 1834. Okay, so, but I couldn't find his death date through Ancestry or from any records in Ancestry. So I dug a little deeper. Now, through our website, Scott County Public Library, we have digitized the local newspaper going back to at least the 1860s and coming all the way back so far to 1966. So I thought this might be worth a shot. So I went to the website, I went to the digitized newspapers, the Georgetown Times, I think it was called back then. And in the search box, I put in Menelaus Parker's name. And lo and behold, there were all these entries for his name. The last entry, March 1909, was his death date. So we have discovered his birth date and his death date. Ancestry.com and the digitized newspapers through Scott County Public Library website really helped out. So this was very satisfying for me, and I hope it's a lesson for you when you're doing research in genealogy. Take care, folks.